Okay, so we are recording. Great. And I'll welcome us all again now that we are recording. We've been on summer break for the last few months, and we're meeting back for the first time this fall. I am Ulasita, and I'm so honored and grateful to be filling in for Amaya today. She is not well, so we will really anchor in our grounding to send her some extra love and blessings as she rests and nourishes and heals her body. And so let us begin with the grounding. And of course, we have beautiful Lisa Fraley here with us today, who is going to be sharing her holistic law magic with us. And it's going to be so wonderful to hear all that you have to share and offer with us in our collective.
Thank you.
Oh, so loves, let us close our eyes. And as you close your eyes, take a moment to consciously soften the muscles of your face, of your forehead, of your jaw. Perhaps even opening your mouth wide and stretching your jaw. Yawning your body into the shift, the pause, this sacred present moment that we have to recalibrate our nervous systems. Beginning to connect with your breath. And as we anchor in our breath, and as we anchor in this container of our call today, let all the energies that we cultivate be felt by our entire collective, calling in all of the women who are not able to be live with us today, and of course calling in Blessed Amaya, and sending so much love and prayers and healing blessings to her body. And as you journey into the dark, into the mystery that is within you, this space of portal, this space that connects you into the unseen realms, this space of infinite possibilities. Begin to weave your breath even more potently. And taking a full, rich, beautiful inhale, filling your body, breathing into your heart, stretching your lungs. And exhaling, sighing out your mouth, perhaps shaking your body, shaking anything that you're holding on to. And again, inhaling, taking in this holy breath, the breath of life, the breath of spirit, this blessing breath from Gaia that nourishes your body temple and offers you the prana shakti of life force. And as you exhale, offering your breath back to Gaia, and staying present with your breath, and continuing to really breathe deeply, allowing the oxygen you take in to expand into the walls of your body, stretching your heart, stretching your lungs, touching into all of your organs, all of your cells. And then exhaling, softening the outer shell of your body, feeling free to move and connect with the waters of your body, the juicy, moist, and supple rhythms of your feminine body. Breathing in Mother Earth's essence and blessing breath of life. Breathing out and offering Mother Earth the breath of her life. I'm feeling into this great symbiotic relationship, this synergistic exchange that we have with Mother Earth all of the time. This breath that brings us into the simplicity of the present moment, where magic occurs, where awareness unearths itself. Where we call more and more and more of ourselves home into our bodies. And presencing Mother Earth below you, and taking your awareness to your roots, to your sitting bones, to your yoni, and allowing your silver rod, hollow like bamboo, this cord of life that connects you and keeps you anchored in your body, allowing this cord to come into your awareness and allowing this cord to drop down into Gaia. Moving past the surface that you are sitting upon, the foundation of the building that you are in, merging with the cool, moist topsoils of Mother Earth. And this silvery cord dropping down through her many layers and traveling all the way to her very center, core, crystalline access. And pausing and taking another beautiful breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as you breathe out, allowing your breath to anchor you into your body more. Feeling yourself arriving here, calling in all parts of yourself as you release the moments that have taken place in your morning, in your afternoon, in your evening, whatever time zone you may be in. Feeling Mother Earth holding you, grounding you, supporting you, and offering you her unconditional love, nourishment, and support. Keeping your grounding cord anchored as you inhale, traveling your awareness back up the many layers of Gaia, through her topsoils, through the foundation of the building that you're in, and back up into your body. Allowing your spine to become even more erect as the light of the earth travels into your body, traveling all the way up, Muladhara, your root, Svadhisthana, your sacral, Manipura, your solar plexus, Anahata, your heart, Vishuddha, your throat, Ajna, your third eye, and reaching up and through Sahasrara at the crown of your head as you feel angelic puppet strings attached to the base of the occiput, the base of your skull, and the crown of your head lifting a little higher to the heavens. Opening yourself up to the sun and the moon and the stars that are above. And perhaps bringing your hands to your heart or your womb. Perhaps bringing your hands into prayer, whatever feels most organic for you at this time. As you call upon your guides and your guardians and your angels to be with you now, to support you, to protect you, and to anchor in the above, in the divine and celestial realms, and feeling them arriving, and allowing the light from the divine to begin to shower over your holy crown. Showering over your crown, and dripping down your cheeks, rolling down your neck and your shoulders, cascading down your spine and the curves of your body. This blessed light encapsulating you in a chalice, wrapping you up thick like honey, wrapping you in a healing balm, soothing, comforting, and nurturing whatever is present for you today that desires nourishment. And feeling your breath again as you feel yourself held in the in-between realms. And so just allowing your breath to begin to deepen and feeling into this very dreamy and mystical state. The state that you hold as a woman, as a sister, as a mother, as a daughter, as a dreamer, as a weaver, as a creatress. In this blessed space that is your rite of passage to walk the beauty way in your life. So 3 beautiful, deep, rich, and intoxicating breaths to anchor this embodiment practice into your body. And when you are ready, you can slowly begin to allow a little light back into your eyes, letting this light glisten through your eyelashes as a somatic anchor back into this 3rd dimensional realm. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to you all. Welcome to all of our sisters who will be watching this recording. Again, I am here in place of Amaya today, and we are so honored to be welcoming Lisa Fraley to join our call and our collective today to share her beautiful legal counsel in the most divine and holistic way. And I would love to introduce you, Lisa. Lisa Fraley is an attorney and legal coach. She is a speaker and #1 best-selling author of Easy Legal Steps that are also good for your soul. She's also the host of Legally Enlightened podcast on iTunes. She's a frequent legal expert on over 250 webinars and podcasts, including top-ranked Entrepreneur on Fire. And she's spoken at live events for Jonathan Fields, Mike Koenigs, I believe, Carolyn Soldo, and health coach Institute, the Health Coach Group, and others, taking stage alongside Gabrielle Bernstein, Chris Carr, and many of today's thought leaders. Lisa's mission is to help small business owners understand that the law can be accessible, empowering, loving, and even spiritual. As a holistic lawyer, Lisa blends her legal expertise and caring, health, and life coaching skills to help thousands of heart-centered entrepreneurs to protect their businesses and brands with contracts, disclaimers, trademarks, and more. She shares her legal love through the DIY legal templates, online courses, and one-on-one services, and is known for aligning legal steps with the chakras. Wow, Lisa, that's amazing. Thank you for all that you're doing and sharing this new paradigm of the legal realms with our world. We are so fortunate and blessed to be with you today. I was also fortunate enough to receive her legal transmissions in one of our Flower Essence calls just a couple of weeks ago, and I know I received so much. So thank you, Lisa, and welcome.
Thank you, Lisita. Thank you for the lovely introduction, and what a beautiful meditation. I actually wanted the whole call to be your meditation, and a lot all today. That was just gorgeous and so grounding. You're so gifted. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Really beautiful gift. So I am so honored to be here with all of you certified practitioners, which is incredible that you have given yourself that gift and the world that gift of taking your studies so far to become certified. I always want to start by just thanking you for the work that you do in the world and the light that you bring to the world and the knowledge, the awareness of flower essences, because just like all of us who are trying to help people connect to their bodies more, connect to their spirits more, connect to their souls more, I personally believe that the law actually does have a spiritual side and a component besides practically covering your buns and helping you to protect your business. It also has an energetic side. And so I love connecting with energetic practitioners because I speak your language through a little bit of my own training. And I'm just grateful to be here with you. So thank you for having me. Thank you. So I know that one of the things that Amaya wanted us to talk about today was just a couple of basic legal steps to get in place for your business, and just to kind of help you see how you can protect and align your business on the legal front. And also in the next, 35 minutes or so that we have together, I also want to open it up for any questions that you have, because you're advanced practitioners and you're probably farther along in your businesses. And I want to make sure that you're receiving the support and the guidance that you are seeking today by showing up today. So I always start also by saying that this information we're sharing is just information and education for you, that everyone's situation is slightly different. So I can't give you complete personalized legal advice, but I want to help and be of service as much as I can be as we go through the call. So if that all sounds good to you, we can start with a few steps, unless there was something else you wanted to discuss first, Lisita.
Not at all. We would love for you to take it over, and we will soak up all of your beautiful wisdom and transmissions.
Thank you. So I'd love to ask, who of you has a website that you have up and running? I'm assuming most, if not all of you, though some people may not, and you don't necessarily need to have one. But the first legal step that I often talk about is having a website disclaimer up on your website, if you do have a website. And I align this legal step with the root chakra because often, I don't know about you all, but when I first put my website out into the world, it felt really vulnerable and scary, not having any legal language on it at all. And of course, as a lawyer, I knew what to say, but when you're launching a website or sharing your website, it can just feel very vulnerable and I think a little scary for people. So with a website disclaimer, because you're helping people with flower essences and really the embodiment of their bodies and getting in touch with their bodies to address whatever spiritual or physical or emotional ailments they're dealing with, or just to live a healthy, happy lifestyle, one of the things that is helpful is for you to let people know that you're not giving medical advice, right? And that you're not replacing their relationship with their medical practitioner, or that you're not trying to in any way give them psychological advice or other advice that they might misinterpret. I know that's one of the biggest things when I work with licensed and also unlicensed practitioners, is that just a fear that people will somehow take what you're saying and apply it to their lives in a way that somehow is not with the results that you intended. So putting this website disclaimer in the footer of your website, at the bottom of your website, that's a link that opens up and they see your website disclaimer, will help you feel safe and secure and rooted, and support the root chakra level of legal protection. Does that make sense? Does everyone have their website disclaimer already? Anyone? Everyone? Some? Okay, great. Okay, good. So that's the first step I encourage people to take. And so one of the things that does, obviously practically, is give you some legal language to fall back on, but also energetically, you are creating that container and that clear language that lets people know what it is that you do and what it is that you don't do in that base legal document. So after that, the next thing that people are usually doing in step 2 of growing their business is working one-on-one with clients, which I assume that many, if not all of you, do through your expertise as a certified practitioner. Is that right? Are you all working with one-on-one clients, or soon to be? I guess so. Great. So the second step is having a client agreement, a one-on-one client agreement. Now, this is a document that both you and the client sign. You may be using one already, and if so, great. Let this just be a reminder that the whole purpose of the client agreement is to help support your sacral chakra energetically and all of the things that are associated with it, right? Boundaries and income and your creativity that you're putting into that one-on-one course, and the gifts that you're sharing, but also receiving back as the practitioner, coming from a heart-centered place and really wanting to serve and honor your clients. So the purpose of the client agreement is to include everything that they're receiving in your program, or even just one-on-one session. You want to include your program description, of course, so that they're very clear about what they can receive from you. I like to encourage you to also have an expectation section where you state for the client how you're going to show up for them, and also how you want them to show up for you. So often this means that you're going to show up giving your best efforts, that you're going to show up on time, that really basic things. You're going to show up with love and care and support. And what you expect from them is to come with their best efforts and to show up on time without distractions, and to really come with a beginner's mind to learn something new. It helps get you, I think, emotionally and energetically on the same page, because you're clear about what you expect from them and what they expect from you. And that, of course, helps yield better results because there's no ambiguity around that. The client agreement is all about getting clarity. And so I like to look at it as a really supportive document. I always make this movement, which of course symbolizes a container, but also the womb, right, of holding that client love, but with clear boundaries and legal language to fall back on. So that's you want to include your program description, your expectations, and of course everything around payment, right? What happens if they miss a payment, or they're late with a payment, or what is your refund policy, or can they pay you in installments, or payment in full up front? What are the deadlines and the dates that their payments are due? Everything that you can think of around payment, to be really clear about how you interact, because as you all know, problems come around money, around time, and around expectations. So this will take care of the money piece. And then you also want to have a section around communication, so that you're very clear. Can they text you on the weekends? How many calls do they receive with you if you're doing a one-on-one program or a series? What happens if they run late for their call? Do you add more time, or do you end your session at the same time? What if they have to miss a call? Is that time forfeited, or can they make it up with a certain time or by the end of a program? How does that work for you when you work with people? So being very clear around money and time and expectations will help just set nice, clear, but loving boundaries to support your clients. And then I align that with the sacral chakra as well. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, cool. So the next step I'll mention, and then we'll open it up for some questions too, but the next step, the third step, this won't surprise you all, aligns with the solar plexus chakra, right? Step 3. And this step, usually what happens is you maybe have a basic website up, you have clients. Well, now you have money, which is fabulous. So now, and many of you may be beyond this step, but now you want to make sure that you have your business registered at the local level, business registration, and you want to be clear about taxes, right? This is a really good time to start talking to an accountant or working with an accountant, even if your business is small and growing, or it's mighty and growing, to make sure that you're clear about saving money for taxes, how much you need for taxes, what documents you need to file for taxes, because when it comes to business registration and taxes, it's totally different for every state, every city, and every county, which makes it mind-boggling sometimes. But at the same time, that sort of honors the way that we operate, at least in the United States, and also in many other countries where we believe in allowing states to make their own and local governments to make their own rules. So just make sure you have all your documentation aligned and completed, and that you're clear about saving money for taxes if you're not already on that page. Sometimes the money piece can feel overwhelming, whether you're beginning your business as a certified practitioner or you really have been in business for a long time. I can't tell you how many beautiful healers come to me with literally like 6-figure businesses going, I don't have any legal documents in place at all. So there's no judgment around wherever anyone is, but it's just important to help support your solar plexus chakra by feeling really professional and grounded and confident and empowered and with good self-esteem, knowing that you've set your business up with all the paperwork properly from the start. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, so I'm assuming many have done those 3 steps. So the next steps, and you see we're going through the 7 chakras if you haven't guessed yet. The 4th one is the heart chakra, of course. And so there are 2 legal documents that I associate with the heart chakra. I call them sister documents. The first one is your website terms and conditions. Okay, website terms and conditions. Now, this document is different from that website disclaimer we talked about back in step 1 with the root chakra. This document is the one that's designed to really hold and honor and protect the text and the images you have on your website page. Okay, the first one, the disclaimer was really about who you are and what you do and that you're not giving medical advice, right? This one is about, I have created a beautiful website with images and text and quizzes and articles and blog posts and opt-in gifts or whatever it is that you have on your beautiful website, articles about floral essences, whatever it may be. And this is the one that you fall back on if someone unfortunately swipes your stuff or someone copies your page or it's so heartbreaking when this happens, but I've even had a client come to me and say someone copied her about page on her website. Her about page, not the format for the about page, like the language of how does someone copy someone else's life? I'm not really sure, but it was astounding. And so fortunately, she had her website terms and conditions on her website to be able to have that document that says, I've created a container that says very clearly that please honor my work and do not run off and copy my stuff. And if you do, here's the document that says you can't do that. So if you can't tell already, I'm all about coming from a heart-centered place when I approach the law. I'm not into fear-mongering. I have no time or interest in scaring people. It's not the way I approach the law. It's really about honoring your work, but you do need these legal documents sometimes when people actually either on purpose or even accidentally copy your stuff. So that's the website terms and conditions. Okay, that tells people how they can use your content on your website. And I align that with the heart chakras because the website is really the heart and soul of your brand. It's a little play on words there, but the heart and soul of your brand. And then we have the sister document, which is the privacy policy. You might have heard a lot about the privacy policy back in May when we were all talking about GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation that came out in Europe, which we don't need to go into much detail, but I'm happy to answer questions about. But the privacy policy, the reason it's a sister document is because it's telling people how you are going to take care of the information they give to you. So their name and email, if they join your e-newsletter, tribe, or if they give you information, a comment on a blog post is actually, when they share their email address, that's actually considered personally identifying information. So the privacy policy is what tells them how you're going to do your best to keep their information safe and confidential. So both of those documents you want in the footer of your website. So like, here's your website, you want it in the bottom as a footer, a link, like the word privacy policy, and a link to the privacy policy, link to the website terms and conditions, and a link that we talked about before to the website disclaimer. That makes sense. Cool. And these documents are how we love up our website. We just really love that website because it's such an important part of your business if you have one. Okay, are you guys doing okay so far? Okay, 3 more chakras to go, as you probably know. So moving up to the throat chakra. So in the evolution of a lot of practitioners, not all, this is just often how people grow their business. Now you're probably at a place where you've done a lot of work one-on-one and you're ready potentially to expand your message. I always say expand your message farther and wider. So that aligns with the throat chakra of communicating your message in a broader way through things like a group program, an online course. Maybe you have books or CDs or video courses or audio courses you sell through your website. You offer it to people to be able to buy through your website. So the document that is aligned with the throat chakra is what I call terms of use. Okay, terms of use. Why do I call them that? Well, first of all, there's like a gazillion different names for legal documents, but and there's like a million different kinds of terms and conditions, but I like to call it terms of use because this is a document that people agree to when they are checking out and purchasing your group program or your book or your course or your audio guide or whatever from your website, where they check the little box and agree to your terms. These are purchase terms as to how they can use your group program, your online course, your product, your book, your whatever, right? So that when they're purchasing it, they're agreeing to how you would like them to use it. So for example, they can use it for their own purposes, but they can't copy or put it into their own book, or they can use it for their own learning, but they can't sell your course to someone else. Those kinds of things. It also has your refund policy, your communication policy, lots of details about online commerce and online purchases, a lot of that intellectual property language protection, like for your website, where we're telling people, hey, please don't swipe or copy or take my content. So think throat chakra when you're going one to many, whatever that may be. Okay, I know I'm going quickly through this, but I want to leave some time for questions. And you guys are very sophisticated, obviously, as certified practitioners. So I hope this isn't too fast, and I hope that this is all making sense. Okay, next, of course, we know we have our third eye chakra. And here, I like to say that you always know when it's time to go pro. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is that by now, often, look at this whole beautiful business that you've built from your website, your one-on-one clients, perhaps you have one-to-many. Now, you often have created this beautiful business that you want to think about creating a corporate entity, like an LLC or an S Corp. That's what I mean by going pro, is taking it from up a notch from just being a sole business owner to creating a corporate entity, because you know it's time. You have a lot of assets to protect, a lot of income to protect. And just to help you without going into a gazillion amounts of details, I do have a book called Easy Legal Steps that are also good for your soul, where I go through each of these steps in greater detail. So if you want to dive in deeper to the LLC or the S Corp, you can read a chapter in that book that walks you through it a little bit more. And I'll cover the basics in a sec, and then also, I also have the Legally Enlightened podcast that Ulisita mentioned in the introduction with the book. And that also has free podcast episodes about when do I need an LLC and what is an S Corp and when should I have one? And they're all 20 minutes or less. So you're welcome to check that out as a free resource as well. Legally Enlightened podcast on my website or on iTunes or Stitcher. So the reason I say that is I love sharing free resources with you so that we don't have to get into the weeds now. But let me just tell you, LLCs and S Corps are two of the main types of corporate entities that a lot of practitioners use. LLC is the simplest. This is the basic one, which we love because it's super easy to maintain once you get it in place. And I like to tell people that it's a good thing to put in place when you have around $50,000 of income, gross income in your business, or sales amount, gross $50,000 of gross income. This is not set in stone. Everyone's situation is slightly different, but it's a good measurement of when you actually have a sizable business to balance the cost of having an LLC and having it set up for you, and working with a lawyer to get that in place. So $50,000 is a good ballpark figure. Really simple to maintain, like we talked about. But you also have the option of an S Corp, which is a small, what I like to call a small corporation. It really stands for subchapter S of the Internal Revenue Code, but that is the technical name. But this is something to think about putting in place when you're at about $100,000 of income or more. And it's more complex to maintain. There's more requirements, more paperwork, more payroll, you pay your taxes, generally speaking, 4 times a year. It's just a more expensive business entity to maintain, but you have a little bit more tax flexibility around your income, and you can often save a lot more money in taxes. I can't promise you that. Of course, you want to talk to your accountant, but generally speaking, it saves you a lot more money in taxes. And so having those 2 places to start is a really good way to think about where you are with your business and what entity you might want to have in place. Okay, so that's the LLC and the S Corp. Again, I'm happy to answer questions. We have one more and then we'll get to that. The last one is trademarking, which aligns with the crown chakra. Why? Because I always like to say that trademarking is a crowning achievement for your business. Another little play on words, but why is that? It's because when you've gotten this far and you've done many of these steps, again, you may be doing other things as well, but you have probably a well-developed brand, right? You have a brand that either a tagline, or you have a business name or a program name or a logo, or you're coming as a business owner with something that's unique to you and that has a lot of value. It's something you're passionate about that you don't want someone else to use. It has a lot of potential to use in the future, and you're making some profit with it. Those are the 3 P's. Passion, that I made up, of course, to support trademarking. Passionate, it has a lot of potential, and you're able to make a lot of profit from it. And if that's the case, then you might want to consider filing a trademark, a federal trademark with the federal government that gives you the right to use your words for 10 years and in a certain class or category, and you can renew that for 10 years and 10 years and 10 years and 10 years. So that's when you think of all of your favorite brands, like just say Lululemon yoga pants, for example, that the symbol, that's how you protect the value of that logo. And if you're an entrepreneur or a practitioner where you're working one-on-one with services and maybe you don't have apparel or things like that, which of course most of us don't, you might have a tagline or a business name, or maybe a name of a program you've created, or a group program or something like that you might want to trademark as well. So that is one area where I really recommend working with a lawyer. I have a couple of podcasts about trademarking if you'd like to learn a little bit more about that. Because these two chakras, it's not surprising, they're the upper chakras. These two, the LLC and S Corp and the trademarking, are they're a little bit more elaborate. For many of the other chakra documents, they're do-it-yourself documents. I have do-it-yourself legal templates that you can do with an audio guide to direct you, and you don't need to spend a lot of money on those, but these two are bigger. These two are bigger legal steps to take, so I just recommend at least talking with a lawyer before you start them. So in a nutshell, those are the 7 legal steps that are also good for your soul. As you can see, they support the chakras in several ways. So I know that was fast. I know we went through a lot, but I'd love to answer any questions you have about any of these or anything else in your business that you'd like to have addressed.
Thank you so much, Lisa. That was fantastic. I'm glad that I got to jot it down this time because I didn't last time. And yeah, I feel like it's so helpful, and it's foreign territory for me.
It is for most people, and the idea is just to help provide you with a roadmap. Like you don't have to do every step, and not everyone does all the steps. But part of I think those of us who are intellectually curious and high achieving students, we like to know what's coming and sort of what the plan is. And I align them that way just so it makes some sense when you're trying to get going for your business legally.
Yeah, I feel like it's very nourishing to those of us who are intimidated by the legality of holistic businesses.
I totally understand. Yes. So I just tried to give you a taste. I hope that wasn't overwhelming. Just a taste of each step so that you would know what to come.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, Lynn is signing off.
A couple people had
Thank
to
you
help.
so much, Lynn.
Oh, good. Thank you, Lynn. I'm so glad it was helpful for you. Thank you for that feedback. So for the rest of you, do you have any questions at all? Please don't be afraid to ask anything at all. I'm just completely here to serve.
Yeah, I thank you so much. This is so so helpful and so grounding, because I guess a lot of us practitioners, I'll speak for myself, tend to have fear around structure and setting things up. And I know it's so important. So I have two questions. And I know the first question you can address because it might be state specific. But I know for me and some other people possibly in the group that we do other work that might be hands-on.
Okay.
In addition to flower essences.
Okay.
And I know, like, I'm in New York State, so I know there's some concerns about doing hands-on work and having proper licenses and, certifications if you're a massage therapist. So if you possible, could you speak a little bit to that? And then my second question is regarding insurance, and at what point do you suggest getting that in your business?
Great questions. Thank you, Shauna. Is it Shauna? Is that correct?
Yeah, Shona.
Shona.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Shona. Great questions. And thank you for asking. So, so when it comes to if you are a licensed practitioner or if you are someone who is a massage therapist and you're bringing flower essences into your hands-on work, or if you're a practitioner who is not licensed and is not a massage therapist and are curious about how that works, you're so right that it is state specific. Each state is different as to what you can and can't do in terms of physically touching a client. So in states where you're not necessarily allowed to touch the client, and you may be doing this already, but perhaps what you can do is instruct the client to put flower essences on themselves or ingest them themselves rather than you doing it for them. You can guide them and support them and instruct them, but then that way you're not violating that law that says that you can't touch them. That's one thing that I think is important. And if you are a practitioner with a license, then incorporating the flower essences into your work, the only thing you just want to make sure of is that it's within whatever your scope of practice is, and that you're allowed to do that based upon whatever your licensure is, because every license is different, every state is different. So from the flip side, just making sure that you are allowed to bring that into your work. Hopefully you are, of course, but just checking that as well. Is that helpful?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Okay. And then the second question you asked about was insurance. So great question. I get asked about that all the time. And again, if you're already a licensed practitioner and you're bringing flower essences into your licensed work, you would probably, I'm guessing, you want to check your insurance to make sure that that work is covered under your regular malpractice insurance or liability insurance. If you're unlicensed, insurance is recommended for a lot of people. They like to have it when they start out. It's really interesting to me. Insurance and law sort of go hand in hand, because what the legal part, so I didn't put it in my comments, but I'm also trained as a health coach through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and a life coach through Coach U. And I also have a fitness certification through ACE. And I've also been trained as a chakra energy clearing practitioner. So I take a very holistic approach to it all. And when you're starting your practice, a lot of people will tell you to get insurance right away if you're not licensed. But I think of the legal steps we just talked about, especially the first 3 or 4, as being preventative for your practice versus the insurance, which helps you after something goes wrong. Does that make sense? So like, for example, when you have your website disclaimer and your client agreement and your website documents and your terms of use, if you are doing group courses and online courses, those legal documents, I certainly know with my do-it-yourself templates they do, but a lot of other lawyers' documents too, have language that basically says there are limitations if something goes wrong. It's called limiting your liability, and it's in the document. So they're agreeing to that, to say that I'm not going to sue you, or you're saying as a practitioner, you know, this is designed for self-help, so I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm not liable for medical advice. So you're limiting the liability on the front end with the legal documents. Does that make sense? Before something goes wrong. That's why you can fall back on it if something happens. Then insurance kicks in after something goes wrong. After something goes wrong and you have to file a claim against your insurance protects you. So I see them as the and. By the way, I should have mentioned why I have this slated ampersand marquee on my wall, and it's because I'm a health and life coach and a lawyer, and also because I believe the law protects you practically and energetically. But in this case, I think law and insurance go together as protection. So a lot of it is up to you. If you can't sleep at night because you're nervous and feeling exposed, then by all means get insurance right from the start if that helps you to feel safe. I also would encourage you to have your legal documents as well to give you that language to fall back on before something really goes wrong. Does that make sense?
Thank you. That was really helpful. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, it's nice when we have our analogy of preventative health versus after something, right? This is how we try to stay safe. And then here's what we do when something does go wrong, you know, with our physical body or with our business. It's the same kind of thing. Eat your vegetables and make sure you have some health insurance.
Now, just a follow-up question along those lines. If we were to work in our home offering services, would our home insurance cover that?
Oh, you just asked beautiful questions. Such a great question. So sometimes your home insurance policy might cover a home office. So you want to check already with your home insurance policy. You can call your insurance agent. I'm not an insurance agent. I try to give you basic information about insurance, but of course I'm not an insurance agent. So call and see. Otherwise, you can potentially get an umbrella policy that might cover you as well. And the professional life. Okay, so this is great. First of all, if you have people coming to see you in your home, you do want to make sure that you have some sort of insurance about the premises, right? Either under your homeowner's insurance or some other general liability insurance. If they're coming to physically see you, because you don't want them to trip on your lamp, you know, your lamp cord or something coming up your front step or something like that. If you spend most of your time doing work online or distance or Skype or Zoom or whatever, working with people, then you'd want to have the professional liability insurance we were just talking about a moment ago. And that covers your expertise as a flower essences practitioner or a health coach or whatever area in which you are calling yourself and bringing your flower essences work into your practice.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Shonda, for those questions. Good questions.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Great. Love it. I love when you ask questions. It makes it so much more fun for me than just telling you blah, 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 legal stuff. So thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Or perhaps, Shonda, you have more questions? No? Is there anything you would like further clarification about that I shared? Do you feel you have some more clarity? Do you feel even more confused? Was that helpful? Yeah, helpful.
Very helpful. One thing that you mentioned on the call a couple of weeks ago was when people are paying for services and then they stop paying for whatever reason, or they don't complete payment, to keep them in the energetics of payment. That was a really helpful piece for me as well. And then I was wondering if you could touch into the collections piece.
Sure.
If they don't pay everything that's due.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning the payment piece. And we were talking back around step 2 about the client agreement, that whole payment section and creating the container and supporting the sacral chakra. The payment piece is so stressful for people, just so stressful. And if you don't have that written client agreement, you don't really have anything to fall back on to collect your payment. So when people stop paying you, or my biggest, I guess, realization I've been a lawyer for like 25 years, but the past 6 years I've been working people in the online space, is that what's so hard sometimes, especially if you have clients you don't see in person and they're online, you don't have often as close of a relationship. They don't feel as much loyalty than when you are with them in person for whatever reason. I don't know why that is, but it just is. So to your point, what I think is really helpful is to keep people in the energy of making a payment. So let's just pretend you did a healing session with them, and I'm just going to make up a number just for the interest of clarity and simplicity. Let's say it's $200 for a 60-minute session with you, and you do an assessment and help recommend some flower essences for them. Just one session, let's just pretend. And let's say it's 3 sessions for $200. Let's just say 3 sessions for $200 a piece. So it's a $600 program for 3 sessions with you. And after the first session, they just stop wanting to pay. They paid their first, and maybe you're charging them monthly, and they just don't want to pay anymore. What I have found is, for me, what's really worked sometimes is to recommend reducing the payment in half and doubling the time for the payment. So coming up with example with a revised payment plan that keeps them in the energy of paying. And sometimes, to your point, Elisita, there have been situations with clients where I've recommended, and I even did this myself initially, that if someone can't pay $200 and they're like, I'm really in a financial straits, it's so challenging for me. Sometimes I'll give them a month, a grace period, to just put them on pause, recognizing that everyone has hard times sometimes. If I feel strongly that they'll continue, but if I don't, sometimes I just reduce it down to $25, let's say, instead of $200, $25, and extend it out, like however many months that is, 8 months or something, because I would much rather keep collecting and keeping their credit card being charged and keeping them in the energy than if they just stop. It's a lot harder to get them going again. It's so much harder to get them going again. And if you show compassion for them and say, I totally understand, but I want you to honor your commitment to yourself, and I want you to honor your commitment to me, that I'd love to help you and support you in this time of financial stress. Could we reduce your payment and extend it out? And there are people who've done that, and then 3 months later, they're like, wait, I can pay now, and they just pay the whole thing, or some people just continue. You always want to follow your own intuition and your own judgment, what feels good to you. Certainly, if someone does stop paying, you're welcome to stop, providing your program to them, especially if it says that in your contract. But energetically, it's just really wise, if you can, to keep them paying, even if it's small amounts. Doesn't mean you have to continue to provide services, but you do want to keep them in the payment. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love that. That's so helpful.
Yeah, when it comes to payment and refund policies, I just want you all to know it's completely what feels good to you. Some people don't ever do payment plans. They get every payment in full. That's totally fine. Some people say, well, if they're going to stop paying, I'm done providing services. That's totally fine. Some people want to do that reduced payment plan and extend it out. That's totally fine. And then you also mentioned the collections piece.
Yeah.
So what happens if they just stop? What happens if they just stop? And I do have a do-it-yourself collections checklist and process and letter and all kinds of things that you can use if you wish. But to tell you a little bit about what I recommend is, so because I come from a heart-centered place, I always first recommend coming from compassion. Always start with kindness. Because when it comes to the law, and believe me, I can pull out my mama lion side if I need to, just like we all can as strong women, but I don't like to, and I don't want to, even as a lawyer, just because I'm trained to doesn't mean I want to. We can get harder and harsher, but let's start with kindness. So if someone stops paying you, extend compassion first, try to talk to them, see if you can work out a payment plan. But if they just drop off the face of the earth, then I recommend, I have scripts that you can use for calling them to talk to them about it, then sending an email, then sending a letter. And as the process goes on, collections itself, it is your right. It is your right to collect money. However, I guess I should say, each state, the collections process is a little bit different. And in some states and in some collection agencies, they have a minimum that's required to not be paid before they actually take your collection on, because usually the way it works is they receive a percentage of whatever is collected. So if it's just a program that's just a couple $100, even though that might be a lot of money to us or to you based on where you are, for them that wouldn't be worth their time or their effort to collect that. So that's why I want you to stay in communication with that client as much as you can and continue to just love them and honor them and try to keep them connected to you and feeling your care. Otherwise, after that, you really can go the collections route if you need to.
Great. Thank you so much.
I'm totally not your typical lawyer if you haven't figured that out yet, because this is not how most lawyers approach things, but I do take a more holistic and feminine approach. And like I said, I can be strong and pull that side out if needed, especially when one of my clients is harmed, or we all have that instinct to like take care of our people, take care of our tribe. But at the same time, I just think it's more effective when we come from of treating people how we wish to be treated, and keeping our hearts open as you're still upholding your boundaries. You can do both. You can be kind and have clear and strong boundaries. So with that, that's a perfect note, I think, to end on.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you for blessing our collective and our planet with your new paradigm law. And we need more and more and more and more people like you out there supporting this new paradigm shift. So thank you so much for being with us, sharing your wisdom, your heart, and your alchemy.
Oh, thank you so much. And if any of you all have other questions later, or you think of other things that you're curious about or want to know more about, I always offer free legal chats with my team that you're welcome to sign up for if you wish. And also, you can check out my website or the podcast for other ways to get some quick information on my website at lisafraley.com, Fraley.com. I'm happy to help and serve you however I can.
Amazing. And I'm happy to enter that into the chat if anybody wants it written down as well. So thank you, Lisa. Thank you
for hosting. Thank you for all of you for being here, and all of the sisters who weren't able to be here, and good health and blessings to Maya as well. So thank you all so much.
Thank you. So much love to you. Many blessings.
Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, beauties. So we get to spend the next 30 minutes, and I want to check in and feel into what would be most helpful for you all. Of course, Jo is here with us too, so she can offer any wisdom or reflections. And Amaya had offered us this time to come into any client reflections or any case studies. So if anyone has any client reflections or case studies that they would like to bring into our circle, please bring that forward. If anyone has any questions or anything to share or anything at all, this is really our time to dive into the essences with one another in whatever way wants to come through. So, anything? Okay.
I can share a little bit.
Great.
It's more about, I guess, the business side or managing expectations with clients. Mm-hmm. So my business is small and growing tiny, word of mouth. I'd started working with someone from a recommendation from a good friend, and I'd mentioned, really would like a 3-month commitment. I charge, my fee monthly, and so you pay for each session. And she was fully open to that. And I said, I'm not beholden if it doesn't feel like a good fit. Let me know, and things are going well. And she went through 2 months and then pretty much like dropped off the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. And then for me, I had a pattern in the past, like chasing people and like, oh, please work with me. And this time it felt very different. I just wanted to not sever the relationship, but create the openness for when she was willing to come back, and not me being from a place of scarcity and desperation chasing her. So I just wanted to know, have any of you dealt with that? And if you have any advice, or if there's a different approach I can have.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Shona. Does anyone else have anything to share about that? I know I do. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, love. I definitely have experienced that. And I noticed that I noticed that more when I first started offering flower essence therapy. And I've thought about this often and what energetic shift has taken place. And so, from a spiritual perspective and not so much of the business perspective, because that's where I live most of the time, I really try to not take it personally when that happens, even though there is that little like, did I do something wrong? And trusting that it's most likely their ego's resistance to healing that came up, and that they're not ready, that their soul is not ready to do the work if they're not able to follow through. So one thing that I've started doing is in my first session with clients, getting really, really clear with them and talking with them. And, I'm sure that you all are already doing this as well. However, getting really clear with them about the stages of healing and not going through the stages per se, just letting them know that their healing is going to be cyclical and they're going to be peeling back more and more layers, and that the ego is going to come forward and is going to want to resist the healing. The ego is going to come forward and is going to present skepticism about doing this different work, because for so many, when they feel the call to begin this work, it's a completely new paradigm. Mm-hmm. It's a completely new modality and realm of healing, and the ego wants to keep us from experiencing these beautiful magical medicines. And so when I notice when I offer that from the very beginning, then I can remind, and I feel like Amaya mentions this in the program as well, but then I can remind them to check with themselves and ask themselves, is this your ego or is this your truth? Like, is this your ego resisting your healing or is this your truth? And I've done that several times as well. And typically whenever I do that, the person will either recognize, yes, it is my ego and I'm not ready to do this work, and or yes, it is my ego and thank you so much for bringing that forward, because I want to continue this work, I want to commit, I want to keep going forward. Is that helpful, or does that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I do, and just listening to you, it's probably warrants on my part like a little bit more depth in the initial conversation about that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, that's definitely very helpful. And I noticed, I'm like, oh no, I said something wrong, or I wasn't supportive enough, or it was the wrong formula. And I know that's not true. It truly, I feel like she's not fully ready. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's definitely been a journey for me, working with clients and not taking it personally and not wanting to chase after them if they're not coming back. So I absolutely relate with you 100%. And it feels so good to know that, we're not alone in that, and it shifts as well. I feel like that part of myself, as I have continue to breathe and come back into my sovereignty and come back into just resting assured that all those whom would be served by my offerings will find me in divine timing. And if they find me and they leave, then, it just wasn't the right timing. Yeah. And that's a prayer that I call forth every morning, is may all those whom will be served by my offerings find me in divine timing. And that also helps me to surrender the process, right? Yeah. Surrender the process, because this is such a liminal work that we do. And and often tying in the more logical realms like we are today with the legal conversation, it's tricky. It's really tricky. It's tricky to balance business and spirituality. It's, yeah, so I really respect and honor all those who are, and I know I have so much to learn. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. It's just good to speak it out loud too, to presence it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Joe, have you had any experiences like that?
I haven't really had any experiences like that with the essences. I tend to have that happen a lot with my women's circles because so we meet weekly for 5 weeks, and during that process, that's exactly what happens. And I speak about what happens and the ego's resistance, but every now and then it still does happen. And absolutely I go through the layers of, is it something I've said? I didn't create a beautiful space for them. Yeah, that's lessening more and more and more. But yeah, this work is deep, and it's there is resistance at times for the women who say yes to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's so deep, isn't it? Thank you so much, Joe. Yeah, so deep. And yeah, I know I've even gone through my own personal experiences with ego coming forward as well. And that's helpful also to recognize what I see in others and myself.
Yeah.
I just had that, as soon as you said that, I just had that own awareness in my own, in my own work with my own mentors and practitioners who I've had resistance towards. And what I love about them is how beautifully they hold that space for me to come into like my own awareness and understanding, and then come back and do the work. So yeah, that's important for us as practitioners to remember when we're serving our clients.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Always holding that space with love as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see us as these big, beautiful arms open wide, just holding with love, like a mother does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like Mother Earth is really using us, right, through her medicines and through the temples of our bodies to wrap our clients in that eternal embrace. And how lucky and how blessed are we to get to share in this way for all those who are ready to receive. It's really incredible.
Yeah.
Anything else, loves? I see Selena here. Hi, honey. We see your beautiful photo, your goddess priestess photo. So good to see you. Trying to think if I have any case studies that I could bring forward. I have one woman who, she's actually my longest term flower essence client. And she was a yoga client. And when I started offering flower essence therapy, she immediately was like, yes, I want to give this a try. And she's an older woman, and she's been very culturally conditioned in a more dogmatic Christian environment and in this more conservative region of the world. And I have noticed with her this ebb and flow as she's dismantling and deconditioning, and as the layers are falling away. And she's stuck with the flower essence therapy now for, maybe almost 3 years. I can't even remember how long I've been doing it. And she's going through a major piece with aging, and this conditioned response to aging, and that we that we age, right, as human beings, and what that means for her body and for her life and for her spirit. And she's a very spiritual woman. And so the juggling of the paradigms, belief systems, of the patriarchy, that we must set up these particular containers as we age, like, you know, all of the different medical and legal stuff. And I noticed her resisting wanting to do that and fearing that. And I also noticed her, you know, wanting to be in the flow of it all and just trust in her soul's evolution and in her life and in her karma and her dharma. We don't use those words, but and so yeah, I bring that forward to see if anyone has any suggestions on essences to work with her in aging and dismantling the patriarchal paradigms and belief systems that come with the process of aging.
Immediately, the essences that have come to mind in the new collection. I can't think what it is. Is it Vitex?
Yes.
It's either Vitex. Yeah.
Actually, hold on. I feel like I put that in her last formula. That's so interesting.
And also Fleabane.
Oh, great. Yeah, Fleabane would be really wonderful. I haven't really worked with Fleabane. No, I didn't. I gave her pomegranate in her last formula.
Yeah.
Okay, Fleabane and Vitex.
I feel like so much will be able to be shifted also through conversation with her as well. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I'm witnessing my mum go through the same process at the moment as well, and she dances in it, and she speaks these words of wanting to embrace her aging and move through it graciously, but she's so conditioned by society, and it breaks my heart.
I know. And after reading the Anna book as well.
Yeah.
Jonah, have you read Anna, Grandmother of Jesus?
I just started to read it. I'm just in the foreword, so I'm like,
I
want to read it so much, and every evening I like fall asleep.
Yeah.
I've been so exhausted.
Yeah. Well, I know that Joe and I both finished it. I love that book is just really coming forward for so many of us now. And so she is reading that book right now. She just started it as well. And I feel like Anna really has beautiful medicine to share as far as eternal life.
Yeah.
Because it feels to me as though so much of our conditioned response to aging and fearing that our bodies aren't going to take care of us. You know, I feel like that's the essence behind it, is that there's a very conditioned imprint in our wombs that we have inherited, that our bodies are going to fail us as we grow older. And I feel as though so much of that comes from all of the religious indoctrination that that we received as women 2,000 years ago, right? And so it feels like this is alive for many women of especially her generation right now and your mom's generation, Joe, because it's part of their work to really be deconditioning and dismantling those imprinted paradigms. And it's like they've been so rooted in it their whole lives. And they're not 20 or 30 or 40 coming into these new awarenesses. They're 60 and they've gone through a generational time where they were deeply trained not to cry and not to be women, even more so than we were, right? Or to be women whom were there to serve and show up only for their men, and to not feel their emotions, and to not trust their bodies, and that their bodies were really just in service to everyone else anyways. And so, yeah, it's such an interesting conversation to have, and it's also sensitive as well. Mm-hmm. You know, it's so sensitive in having these conversations, because I know Marianne Williamson offers a quote in Return to Love, and I'm paraphrasing, and she says that the most, I think she says the biggest form of spiritual ignorance is sharing something with someone when they're not ready to hear it. And so juggling that line and balancing the integrity behind that is always really interesting with women whom are really coming in from a completely different realm and paradigm and social culture. And yeah, and I love just being like, okay, here's this book, you know, read this amazing book, because Anna really goes into so much great detail that we are eternal, and that we have the capacity to have these bodies eternally as well, if we choose, which, you know, feels so beyond our scope and realm, although being in the tides and the ebbs of that book and the pages and all that it has, it really helped me feel that in my own personal body, that yes, I am inspired to deepen into this belief that my body is here to serve me. And yeah, so thank you.
I was just going to say, I'm so glad we're having this conversation. Mm-hmm. I'm about to read this book, because my mother, she's very much resistant to flower essences, but she will indulge my conversations. And she retired about maybe 8 months ago. And it was a very long planned retirement where her company was closing down. And so she knew, and she got to prepare, and she was so excited. And once she was retired, everything shifted for her, you know, her whole self of worth, and now bringing income, and looking the part where she was looking forward to retirement, and then not knowing what to do and how to flow through it. And then just thinking about your client, because there's this belief that, well, now I'm old and I should just be preparing for old age and set up my structure and getting ready to die. For my mom, and possibly for your client, there is still a lot of vitality. Yeah. And so, you know, age is really a number, and maybe for your client to tap into her youthfulness, and that's where you ebb and flow and dance with her and allow her to come into like her own knowing that, you know, this number doesn't mean that you're now whatever her mindset is. You could still be playful, and there's still youthful aspects, and you can still bring, you know, vitality and fun into your life. Maybe that's something to explore with her, because that's the conversation I'm having with my mom. And every time she's like, oh yeah, I do that. I do enjoy that. That's not what old ladies do.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
There's also some, you know, where's the crone in our society? Where's this beautiful woman? She's been hidden and shut away and popped in the corner. I would really love for us to bring her back.
Yeah.
More.
That, yeah.
So that could be some really beautiful conversations, and there's some beautiful writings out there.
Yeah, well, maybe we
your clients and your mom.
Oh, go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah.
Maybe we could mention to Amaya, perhaps even having a call on how to work with women who are going through these kinds of transitions, whether they're in midlife or later in life. You know, it seems like midlife is later in life these days anyways. Yeah. And how to bring the crone back. I love that. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. And I did put the pepper tree essence in her last formula, which is about bringing life back. So what you were sharing, Shona, feels so yes. And the pepper tree was like, oh, yay, yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing how she receives the pepper tree and how that offers her support in bringing her life back.
I'm so excited to hear more about these new essences that are coming out. They sound amazing.
They're so amazing. I mean,
I've been getting some in the formulas that Karun is making for me, and some with the Mimea I've gotten from Mimea, and it's just like, I want them all.
They're just like nothing I have ever experienced in my life. They are so incredible. And they're working differently with clients. It's so interesting. Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah.
They have I feel like the energetic is much fresher for the essences. The energetic is like, it's so alive because there's been so much Shakti poured into it. And I don't know how other flower essence companies do their stuff. However, there's something really, really potent about the way in which these essences have been alchemized. I mean, first of all, just like the way in which Amaya has her bottling sessions and has the women come together to bottle, and the way in which she's traveled to all of these beautiful pilgrimage sites around the world to gather these essences in their most powerful and highest vibrational forms. They're really incredible. And I agree, Joe. I feel like I notice much quicker transformation and shift and recognition of the essences with the Gaia's wisdom formulas.
Yeah. I'm feeling that from my own experience, that the container is so much stronger.
Yeah.
That I'm like truly held in that container of the essence, and it gives me permission to feel into whatever is coming up, and it doesn't feel like I'm falling apart, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm truly supported.
Yeah. I feel
that's
that
so beautiful.
Yeah.
And very quickly too.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, I love the way you shared that and worded that, because I can really feel it in my body. And absolutely. Okay, loves. Well, thank you so much for staying on and for allowing me to host this space today. It's, of course, a great honor and privilege to be sitting in Amaya's on Zoom.
Yeah, thank you so much. You've held this space so beautifully.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
thank
Shona,
you for your beautiful
so
grounding.
Lovely. Yeah, that was really lovely. It was really lovely. Shona, it's so beautiful to see you.
Same here.
So beautiful to see you, Shona. I love all that you bring to the table, and you always have so much great wisdom. And thank you.
Thank you for that reflection. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
All right, loves. I will close us off, and we're all already unmuted. So much love to you both.
Love you both.
I love you both. Lots and lots.
Love you, and we'll see you for our next collective call.
Excellent. All right. Have a beautiful day.
Bye, dear.
Bye.